Ed Miliband is very keen to stress the real sort of climate emergency, the alarmism, where it's sort of 2 minutes to midnight, the world's coming to an end, and that this is absolutely imperative to spend billions, tens of billions of pounds on this. Otherwise, there'll be disaster. I think that could be the tension in the Labour Party between those people who are saying, no, we're not going to spend any extra money at all. We're going to be very prudent, and Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, saying no, there's no extra spending, and Ed Miliband and some other people in the Labour Party saying it's imperative that we spend huge amounts, otherwise the world will come to an end.
Well, Jeremy Hunt has raised the prospect of further tax cuts and hit out at Labour's plans for the economy. Now, in a speech aimed at sharpening the battle lines before the election, Mr Hunt defended record levels of tax under the Conservatives as necessary, as he insisted that the economy, well, it's turned a corner, it's doing well. He spoke in front of a lectern with the words Labour's tax rises on it, and claimed that its plans would leave a £38.5 billion black hole in the nation's finances. Well, let's talk to Harry Phibbs of Conservative Home. Harry, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Now, this is being billed as a Treasury assessment of Labour's spending plans on everything from green prosperity to NHS scanners and breakfast clubs and NHS appointments. But critics say it's got the fingerprints of Tory special advisors all over it. So how credible an attack is this from the Chancellor?
Look, I think it's important for the Conservatives to get back to the old tunes of saying, here's an election. If you want low tax, vote Conservative. If you want high tax, high spending, vote Labour. That's the divide. I think they have to get into that territory. The obvious difficulty, which you've mentioned, is that the credibility is that the Conservatives have been putting up tax and putting up spending, and it's almost as if the nation's credit card has already been maxed out, and that therefore it's actually the problem for the Labour Party to try and offer any extra spending. That people will say, well, hold on, we can't afford any extra spending, and so we're possibly heading for a rather dull election campaign where there's this sort of pretense that there's this big divide, but really we're right at the limit with high tax and high spending already, and that therefore neither party has much room for manoeuvre.
Yeah, and it's not so long ago that the Labour Party was accusing the Tories of creating a £46 billion black hole with their pledge to abolish national insurance. And the Chancellor says that's fake news. Well, if that's fake news, well, so perhaps are his claims that Labour's tax rises will bankrupt the nation.
Oh, I think the cutting national insurance, I mean, it's fine to have an aspiration, say, as and when we can afford to get rid of national insurance, then that would be a fine thing to achieve. So I don't think that in itself.
Well, you see where I'm going with this, Harry. I mean, if you say Labour's attack on you is fake news, then if you produce a Treasury report, but which has the fingerprints of your own special advisor, so it's a political report on it, then clearly Labour can come back with the same heft and say, well, this is fake news too. It's nonsense because our proposals are costed.
Yes, I think. I mean, obviously, you could say, right, this is our ambition to cut tax, and then the credibility gap there is that if you've also set up plans to have increases in public spending in real terms and already a record high level, then and the economy sort of groaning under the weight of that tax and spending burden, so there isn't much prospect of economic growth. I think that's the difficulty there. I think as far as Labour's concerned, the scrutiny there will be on their spending pledges, and I think particularly over some of the things Ed Miliband's saying about net zero and the green spending plans, and Ed Miliband is very keen to stress the real sort of climate emergency, the alarmism, where it's sort of 2 minutes to midnight, the world's coming to an end, and that this is absolutely imperative to spend billions, tens of billions of pounds on this. Otherwise, there'll be disaster. I think that could be the tension in the Labour Party between those people who are saying, no, we're not going to spend any extra money at all. We're going to be very prudent. And Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, saying, no, there's no extra spending. And Ed Miliband and some other people in the Labour Party saying it's imperative that we spend huge amounts, otherwise the world will come to an end.
Well, in those kind of battles, the Chancellor usually wins, doesn't she, or he, Harry? But anyway, look, the attack by Jeremy Hunt today bookends a week which started with the Prime Minister saying Labour cannot be trusted with your safety, with the defence of the realm. And it makes you wonder, well, what exactly is the thinking at Conservative HQ? Because you've had 14 years in power. And are you so desperate to try and curry favour with the electorate that you're telling them it's so dangerous out there, only we can get you through it? I mean, the government's job is always defence of the realm, but also to create an economy and a public sector that can look after people in peacetime too. And the Conservatives appear to be failing.
No, I know. I think of course, you need to do both. I mean, Rishi Sunak's speech about national security was saying, look, this is a dangerous world, and we need to have increased defence spending. I mean, I would argue that, as with all things, it's not about the amount you spend, but how effectively you spend it on. And there's no exemption for that for defence. That it's that it's important to get stuck into scrutiny of the detail about that, but nevertheless, the message of saying that national security is an imperative. These are dangerous times. I don't think that's anything particularly to do with blaming 14 years of Conservative government. That's stating that's a challenge that the Labour Party or the Conservative Party would face in government, and this is what he is as the Conservative Prime Minister is setting out to do. So no, I think that's entirely legitimate. It's
but I'm just saying, Harry, but that's
how they would respond.
Yeah, but he has been it's part of a government that has was it 4 elections, been in power for 14 years, and actually there are kind of haunting echoes of what dictators say. Only I can get you through this. Only we, the opposition, should never be given a chance. Well, in this country, we have government, we have opposition, and every few years we change. And after 14 years, perhaps one reason why the public isn't really listening, despite all this promise of tax cuts, is they think, well, sorry, you've had long enough. Isn't that the fact, Harry?
Well, we are a democracy, and we have a choice, and it's absolutely legitimate for him to put out his pitch, and obviously a range of threats, clearly over Putin, but also all these amazing technological challenges like AI. But it's perfectly reasonable for him to say, look, here's the alternative.
Yeah.
Here's this chap called Keir Starmer. Let's just think back 5 years ago. Keir Starmer was in cahoots with Jeremy Corbyn, and that was his record at the time, saying that Jeremy Corbyn should be Prime Minister. He says that he's changed. Can he really be trusted? How much credibility does he have when he was so close to Corbyn a relatively short time ago?
All right,
and that's for people to decide whether Keir Starmer's changed sufficiently with sufficient credibility to be trusted.
Harry, we're going to leave it there. We are over our time. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Times Radio's Harry Phibbs from Conservative Home.